All right. Anyone that's circling, we are kicking off Pitch Madness and finishing up our first round. Come on by, grab some founder cards. Limited edition, soon to be worth millions of dollars. All right. Our first founder.
Oh, judges.
Well, yeah. Our judges ready to go?
Yeah, the judges are ready.
Awesome. Okay. Let everyone get settled. Our first judge, Kelly Reeser, Managing Director with Tech Farms Capital. Come on, round of applause, make some noise. Our second judge, Harvey Kaget, Tampa office managing partner at Burr and Foreman. Give it up. And last but not least, Chuck Papagiorgio, CEO and co-founder of World Watch Plus. Give it up. All right, let's introduce our founders. Ever wanted to experience Leo's airport experience in the movie Catch Me If You Can? Well, you can now purchase that squad for peanuts. Make some noise for Julie and Sky Squad.
Hi, everybody.
Julie.
My name is Julie Melnick. I'm the founder of Sky Squad, and we provide airport assistance to moms, dads, seniors, and non-English speakers. We use airport employees who are badged and background checked to provide the service. And I'm passionate about airport experiences because I have 2 kids, and getting through the airport was super tough. And we are passionate about making the airport experience better for everyone who travels with kids, seniors, and non-English speakers.
Thank you, Julie. Just step outside. On the eve of the great trial, there wasn't a paralegal in sight. All the lawyers were scrambling to make sure their words were written down right. Solving these problems with technology, give it up for Eve and Expedite Legal. 30 seconds.
Good morning, my name is Eve Barrett, and I am founder of Expedite. I created a first-to-market, on-demand mobile app platform and web-based portal where law firms can find and book available court reporters the same way you hail a ride through Uber. We also help court reporters find last-minute opportunities and become that just-in-time hero for judges and law firms. So if you work in the legal industry, why aren't you using Expedite?
All right. Our famous rock, paper, scissors, shoot to decide who goes first. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right. Eve, would you like to go first or defer for the first question?
I'll go first.
All right. Spencer, take it away.
All right. Eve, you have discovered that your head lead engineer has become involved with some HR misconduct right in the middle of a large development sprint. You might be able to turn a blind eye as he or she is such a pivotal person in their first major report offense. But the litigation liability and the impact on morale could be pungent. What's your next step?
All right. First thing I would do is I'd put on my PR hat, which says, get ahead of it, right? You need to get ahead of this. Then I would put on my legal industry background hat that says mitigate damages, mitigate damages. I would then go meet with our legal counsel because that's why we have them on board. I would review the company's policies and procedures to find out how we can swiftly address this and apply the appropriate remedy to the misconduct, the level of misconduct.
Julie, 30 seconds to respond.
I basically think that the leadership comes from the top, and I think in order to create a company that has a strong leadership team, I think you really need to address it quickly and remove the person from the team. I don't think there's really room for any type of wavering, and I think we need to make sure we bring in somebody who is a quick learner and who can take over the project, and maybe there will be some bumps in the road. We'll have to take some time out, and it will cause some delays, but I think in all, we have to remove that person and move on.
Eve, you mentioned getting out in front of this, but you didn't bring up the fact of letting go the person. Do you agree or disagree with Julie's response?
Well, if it's a lead engineer, that is somebody that's pivotal to executing the mission. So I would be hesitant to remove them. I want to find out what level of misconduct has been applied. First of all, does it rise to the level of criminal intent? Or what type of activity are we talking? Are there more than one person involved? There's so many variables that are not talked about. Was it on premises, off premises, all that type of thing? I would want to first find out and address the situation, find out if there's a way that we could still execute the mission and go forward, and see if we could remedy it rather than just to terminate. That's a really final process.
Julie, final thoughts.
Final thoughts are, I think the culture of the company is really very important, and I think in order to create a really strong culture, we really can't take any chances, and I think that's why I would definitely remove the person, even if it wasn't criminal intent, even if it was something causing an HR issue that was significant enough to cause trouble in the company down the line. I think the effects long term might be worse without removing the person, and I think taking action now might solve problems, although it will cause problems in development in terms of time. I think it's worth it to take that time to make it right.
On to the next question. Julie, according to CB Insights, 42% of startups fail due to the lack of market need. If market focus has challenged your initial convictions, how do you weigh the responsibility of your investor capital versus your determination? 30 seconds.
Great question. I think that founders are investors in their company as well. I think the time, the effort, the finances that the founders put into the company make them an investor along with their investors. And I think the communication between the founders and the investors has to be very clear cut. And I think the use of funds has to be very well indicated so that the investors can really feel like the founders making the right decisions. I think together they can make sure that they're making the right decisions together and putting a plan in place that will bring the best results long term.
Eve, 30 seconds to respond.
So sometimes the market doesn't even know that it needs what it needs, right? Sometimes it just doesn't know. So I'm thinking that Spanx is a great example. I didn't know I needed Spanx until a creative visionary actually developed it. They created an unidentified need in the market, and now I don't know how I lived without Spanx before they were brought out. So what I'm going to say is, you have to weigh the investors. They don't like surprises, but it takes a bold investor to get behind a bold visionary who has this great vision to fill this unidentified need that creates a market. And that bold visionary, like Elon Musk says, you can either watch what's happening or you can be a part of it.
Eve, would your strategy change if you came into double the amount of capital that you're currently seeking?
No, my strategy would not change. I would, however, deploy customer generation and user engagement resources to increase my market share, and I would also expand much more quickly into my top 8 markets throughout the country.
Julie, 30 seconds to respond.
Yes, I do believe that our strategy would change with more funds. I think the more funds you have, the more you can look at a global picture of what you're trying to do, and I think expansion can happen more quickly with more funds. And I think that spending more money on marketing and advertising and your sales plan really can increase with more money. I also think in our case, getting into airports, we would be able to scale to more airports with more funds.
Let's give it up for our founders.
All right.
Good job.
Thank you, founders. And let's take it over to the judges. Write down, you think what? Kelly, why don't you start us off?
All right, ladies, well done. Thank you so much for your time, energy, and effort here. I would say, again, both of you did a great job. On the first question of HR, I think that, Eve, you were right on. You had a very systematic approach to how you would address it, starting with the PR ramifications, legal counsel, thoroughly assessing the level of misconduct. But ultimately, Julie, I think I appreciated your preservation of culture attitude towards that question. And so I think that that focus really resonated with me. Failure of the market need. The market doesn't know what it needs. I think you made that point, Eve. I think that was extremely well done. But I also liked your approach, Julie, that the investors and the founders be on the same page and that be a constant conversation. And then on the last, the doubling the funding, I think you actually both said the same thing. Eve, you said it wouldn't change your strategy. You said it would change your strategy, but both of them included expansion beyond what you were expecting. So for this round, again, well done. But I would have to say that that Julie, you caught my attention. Thanks.
All right, that's one vote for Julie. Harvey.
Sure. think you both did an excellent job today. Appreciated all the answers. On the first question, on whether to remove the person, I think Eve did a great job laying out the procedures and how she would handle it. But I did agree that I wanted the decision and on the culture, so I would go with Julie on the decision there. On the market need, again, discussion with the investors, Julie, that was great that you would, get them included and all that. But I would go with Eve, that she's, the bold visionary, and I thought that was a much better response. But, I would go with Eve on that one. On the double capital, you were both, going to increase your spending and, expanding into the markets and spending more money. I agree with both your answers on that. And this was a tough decision. You were both very close. I'd like your answers. But on this one, I'm going to slightly go with Julie on this one.
All right. Chuck.
So I have a saying, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And I wouldn't even think twice about firing that engineer. So personal preference, I'm with Julie on that one. As the founder, you are the company culture. So no hesitation, because if you do, you'll pay for it. Ask me how I know. Then on the pivot, absolutely, I think I like Julie's answer. Investors are not bold. They buy onto the idea, and then you better deliver. They're usually risk averse, not bold. And then on the dilution, neither of you, which surprised me, said, well, it depends how much dilution am I going to take for 2x capital. So you both get 0 on that one. But net, I'll go with Julie.
All right. Thank you, founders. And Julie will move on to the semifinals. All right, moving along. That was the end of our first round. We're now quickly segueing to the first semifinals of this tournament. Can I please get a warm applause for Nicole with Shimmy? Drink. All right. And our next founder, Jessica with Unbound.
I feel like we should.
Hello, Tampa.
Thank you, guys. All right, one more rock, paper, scissors. We think we're going to get it this time. Remember, shoot, and that's when you do the hand signal.
All right.
Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. You didn't do it. I knew you weren't going to do it.
Sorry, I had coffee.
All right, one more time. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, my God. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right, Nicole, what would you like, to go first or defer?
Yeah, let's get this over with.
Okay.
The best way possible.
Okay, great, Nicole. Way to backtrack there.
All right, 5 minutes on the clock. Nicole, it's been quite a journey. You finally got the product built and you are now ready to go to the market. Unfortunately, your technical founder, who is good at building prototypes, does not have the experience to build a commercial grade product. What do you do next?
So I leverage my community. I ask the smartest people I know what they want. But I think there's so many resources out there right now for us to be able to build a product and be able to get it out there. So looking at offshore dev, nearshore dev, and making sure that we are able to price things out to get our devs to where they need to be. So for me personally, I know that technical co-founders and my product, I need to be able to leverage the people around me for that, and then help that person become the best leader they can be. So if they're managing a dev shop, amazing, and they can learn that.
Jessica, 30 seconds to respond. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, it was a bit convoluted, so I'm going to say what I believe. So I believe that as a leader, you can hire people that are smarter than you. And at Unbound, I have a CTO co-founder, and we had this specific problem in the very beginning, which he identified. And so we went out, we leveraged our network. I worked with Amazon before. I knew people in AWS. We were able to bring somebody in to help us build the foundational building blocks within AWS so that we can grow and scale. So you've got to hire somebody smarter than you.
Nicole, your chance to respond.
Yeah, so I do not have a technical person, and for me, it's about using my greatest resources. So making sure that I'm gritty enough to make sure that everything is taken care of. So hiring the best people, but also utilizing every resource that's out there on the internet.
Last chance to respond. Jessica.
Yeah, so to finish my thought from before is hiring people that are smarter than you as a founder, leveraging your network to help you build what you need to build.
Jessica, when you're forecasting your goals and objectives for the year, what areas of the business do you think are most important and why? 30 seconds.
The area of the business that is most important and why is sales and revenue generation. You don't have to be profitable at first, but you don't have a product if you can't bring customers in. And when you bring those customers in, or even if they say no, you are learning more about your product, about your business, and what you need to change in order to serve your customers.
Nicole, 30 seconds.
Same. I'm going with sales because you're able to rally your team around that. But after that, I definitely think your roadmap is what is going to help you because you want to make sure that you're always giving into that sales funnel and always building your product to reach your customers.
Chance to respond, Jessica. 30. If they're open for debate, no?
No, I think we're
You guys both agree, really, so we're going to move on to the next one. Nicole, what personality traits do you think are most important to have on the team when making some of your early hires?
Tenacity is the first one. So these are the people that are going to be with you from the very beginning to the very end. The second one I would say is culture. If you mess up culture in your first beginning stages of hiring, it's really, really hard to fix. So you want to find somebody that's in there for the long haul with the tenacity, but then build up that culture with them as well.
Jessica, 30 seconds to respond.
I believe it to be grit and fortitude. Running a startup is hard. You're going to have ups and downs. We have to have a team and a culture where you can work together through those downs and really celebrate those wins as well. Even at Unbound, our first 10 hires weren't paid and didn't have equity, but they believed in the product. And then eventually we rewarded them with equity. But they had the grit and fortitude and the belief in the product to continue with us.
Nicole, your chance to
Yeah,
respond.
so I think grit and tenacity actually go hand in hand because you need somebody that's able to have the gritty mentality, like I said last time, like the cockroach mentality, but you need them to have that tenacity and that excitement to actually get you from point A to point B. And I would say definitely like focus on your culture from the very beginning because that is your company, that is your product as well.
All right, let's give it up for our founders.
Thank you.
you. And bringing it over to the judges. Chuck, why don't you start us off?
This was a hard one, and I hate to say this, but you're not an operator. Yeah, operate. I have a hard feeling, a hard judgment towards operators, because an operator would say, hell no, this is what I need to do. They wouldn't go to the community. I need to bring somebody else. I need to do that. You don't have time, especially when you're executing. So it was tied like minor differences, but I'll have to go with Jessica.
Harvey.
I agree that, both of you are just very similar on your answers. You're leveraging the community, hiring smarter people, and, your answers are just very similar. You're both excellent, and it's just a flip of the coin, so I'm just going to go with Jessica.
All right, and Kelly.
All right, ladies, well done. I know we're not debating, but I would say, Chuck, I disagree with you just a touch because I do think the relationships that you can build, how to bring that person in for even the time period. But I would also say that Jessica, I appreciated the honesty about the limitations. If that initial technical co-founder needs to step aside in order for the good of the company to bring somebody in that can really scale a product, I think I agreed with you most there. And then on the other element on the personality traits, to me, I felt like it spoke volumes about your charisma and your ability, because it was a strange dynamic not knowing what the two of you did. I didn't get to see the beginning of the first go round, so Tyler, we were like, we're not really sure what they're
baseball cards
doing.
are for.
Right, all my homework that I didn't do. So anyway, but so really just taking it at face value. But Jessica, I would say that that your ability to bring 10 people on unpaid, no equity, demonstrates the charisma of you as a founder. So I'd have to give it to Jessica as well. So well done.
All right, give it up for our founders. Jessica will be moving on to the finals and our second semifinal. Can I please have Julie come back up on the stage?
Like that.
And Tony, join us up here.
mic like that.
All right. Our famous rock, paper, scissors. Let's try and get it on the first time. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right. Tony, would you like to go first or defer?
First is fine.
All right. Spencer, kick us off.
All right, 5 minutes on the clock. Tony, the company is finally ready for a Series A. Unfortunately, it took a lot longer and with way more pivots than you thought. The only Series A team sheets you could get valued for the company are lower than the cumulative amount of investment you've taken in a convertible note from seed investors. What do you do next?
Sure, this is, to me, pretty straightforward. The number one objective of the company is to fulfill its mission, to get its products to market, to be profitable and make a return for the shareholders. So let's keep that top of mind. Second, I'm a former investment banker, so any capital that we raise would be done in a competitive process. We would put our best foot forward and talk to everybody. And if the market says this is our term sheet, that's what the market says. And keeping the fact that we need to keep the company going, continuity of operations, end in mind, we take what the market says is the value.
Julie, 30 seconds to respond.
Okay, I think this situation is more common than we think, and I think that what happens is the founder needs to talk to the first investors and explain that the long-term vision of the company is still the same. The success of the company is still the goal, and I think bringing in new investors, even if the first valuation makes it lower, I think the long-term vision of the goal is to succeed, and it will help the first investors anyway. So for the greater good of the company and the investors on both sides, everyone wins if they take on this new investment and keep moving the company forward.
Tony, would you agree with Julie?
Yeah, I mean, you need to fulfill the mission. You need to take the money in, and yes, I would also certainly dial or feedback my initial investors and explain the dynamic, explain that we did go through a competitive process, and this is how we all get best valuation and get our product to market.
Great, Julie. Which aspect of diversity do you feel is most responsible for increasing company performance? 30 seconds to answer.
I think diversity in companies is so important, and I think the more diverse your company is, the better you can see the different angles and perspectives from people that are going to be customers in your company. And I think in order to really get the best perspective from all customers, you really need to bring in a diverse group of people to work with your company and to help support your company so you can see all different points of view and how we can benefit our customers.
Tony, 30 seconds to respond.
Sure, I think there's actually two aspects of diversity that are really important. The first is background, and the second is expertise. So, for example, in our company, of our 4 founders, 2 are second-generation doctors. I'm a business person, so I bring a completely different perspective than they do as we look at how to optimize the product for our medical community market and also how to do it in the best strategic and financial manner. The other is background. Again, second-generation doctors look at money and spending in a different way. I'm a scrappy.
Julie, Tony mentioned 2 specific points when bringing on diversity. Do you yourself have also 2 very specific points that you would look for?
Yes, I think that in addition to bringing in people that come from different business backgrounds, it's also important to look at people coming from different cultural backgrounds. We have people that are our customers flying all over the world, and sometimes culturally some things are more important to them than other things, and I think we've talked to a lot of people and learned a lot about our business and how to meet different needs culturally.
Tony, final thoughts?
No, I absolutely agree. You need to know who you're talking to and cater to them, not to you. For example, later this week we're meeting with the FDA, and the medical bias is to do one thing, the short and time-sensitive bias is to do another thing, so we're combining perspectives to be culturally sensitive to our diverse audience and to get the goal that we want.
Tony, the state of work is changing, with many startups having team members working in remote locations. How do you build unity and foster creativity amongst the teams when they infrequently, if ever, meet face-to-face?
Sure, that's a great question. To get the best talent, particularly in a startup situation, you really have to go where the talent is. What we do is we have frequent and very collaborative discussions. We have conference calls. We will have video conferences. And I do think it's important to get people together so whenever possible, even if it's only a couple times a year, you bring everyone together for team building and you reiterate the mission that you have, the strengths and exciting things that you have going on to keep everyone excited, because when they're not right in front of you, it is a little hard to keep the energy. So it's important. It's there.
Julie, final 30 seconds to close us out.
I agree with Tony. I think that those weekly meetings, those Zoom meetings, video meetings are really important to keep people face to face, even if they're not in the same city. And I think weekly calls, prizes to motivate people to sort of be on the same page, to everybody working towards the same goal. Yearly retreats are really nice, getting people together from out of town, supporting the same cause, getting them outside of the work environment into something more casual, getting to know each other, and that will really strengthen the bond of the team throughout the year.
Give it up for our founders.
All right.
Very good. Thank you.
Awesome job, founders. Let's kick it over to the judges again. Chuck, why don't you kick us off again?
So you guys went neck to neck. Just solid answers, good operating answers. The thing that actually tipped it over for me, Julie, was your answer about diversity was not some generic, fluffy kind of thing. It's about my customers. So to me, I'll give you the point for that one, diversity. Julie, my choice.
All right, Harvey.
Agree again. It was a very neck and neck, and appreciated all your answers today. Julie, I did like your diversity answer, but then when Tony said that he was actually catering to the customers, if the doctors are coming in, he has to have a doctor on staff. So it wasn't just the cultural answer; it was more of exactly dealing with the customers. So otherwise, your answers were very neck and neck, but so it tipped it to me for Tony.
All right, Kelly, the tiebreaker.
Again, very well done, both of you. I think on the first question, Tony, I saw in you your investment banking background was important, and I think the way that you handled that question, I think that it gave a little bit more meat and maybe substance to your answer there. You were more succinct on the diversity question, looking specifically at the background and the expertise. And then, Julie, you did bring it back around to the cultural and the business, to the cultural and business element. And then, of course, the state of work question, you both were pretty equally tied there. But I think based on the concise nature of your answers, I think, Tony, it went to you on this one. Thank you.
All right, that's it. Tony will be moving on to the finals tomorrow at 4:30 right here.
Cool stuff.
Give it up for our founders.
Good job.
Good job. And thank you for coming out. Remember, tomorrow will be the finals at 4:30 right here. Thank you.